Welcome to 10 and Tech. I'm your instructor Clark, and today we're going to be talking about upgrading to version 3 of the timber framing extensions for Sketchup.
Nice and slow.
You may have noticed there's a new version of the timber framing extensions for Sketchup on the extension warehouse. This video is specifically for people upgrading from version 2 to version 3. Now I'll be making a complete set of videos for using version 3 over the next month or two, but in the meantime, here's some things you should know about the new version. First of all, how to upgrade. Just do it the usual way from the extension warehouse. If you just search for timber framing, you should find it and click on that and just hit the install button, and you'll need to restart SketchUp afterwards because you're upgrading from an old version. The main difference between version 2 and version 3 is that version 3 we're going to be using layout to create the shop drawings and put the annotations on there. But to get started, the process is pretty much the same as it was before. You're going to right click on a timber and say make shop drawings. And as usual, you'll be prompted to save this, and we'll just save it in this junk location. And then I'll open that file and we'll take a look at it. Now, one thing to notice is that there's the familiar 2D view of the file of the timber, but also a 3D version. And I've made specific scene tabs just for those. Another thing to notice is that there's no title block or anything put on this drawing because, again, we're going to be doing that in layout. Some other things you'll notice is that instead of using X-ray mode to display the profiles of the mortise, I'm now using back edges, which are these dashed lines. I think that looks a lot cleaner and less confusing. You also see that in the old version, this would have left a little line right across here, and I was able to clean that up in the new version. I do that by exploding the joinery, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. First, I want to show you how to send this now to layout. So just go to Extensions, Timber Framing, and Send Shops to Layout. Now the first thing it's going to do is ask you to choose a template file. A layout template is nothing more than a regular layout file stored in a special location. I can't really find that special location from within the extension, so just save it anywhere that's convenient for you. I put it with my other SketchUp stuff kind of alongside where I store component libraries and things like that. This is just a sample layout file, and you can find this on my website if you want to download this and use it for yourself, or you can just create your own layout template that makes sense for the way you want your shop drawings to look. You'll only be prompted for this once per project when you export your first shop drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and open that, and in the background now it is creating a layout file using that template. It's going to tell us that this page was added to that layout file. So now I'm going to bring up layout and take a look at what that looks like. I'm just going to open that. And what I've done is I've created sort of a blank title page here for you, and I expect you to replace this with maybe an overview of the whole project. But what I really want you to see is this page that was added here. And notice that I brought in two different viewports, one with the 3D drawing and one with the 2D drawings. Again, it's the familiar 4 sides that you're used to from doing annotations on version 2, but in version 3 we're doing this in layout. I think you'll find that the dimensioning tool in layout is much more powerful than the one in SketchUp. But the process is pretty similar. We're just going to go through and add the dimensions that we think we need for our shop in the shop drawings. And again, we'll have a separate page for each timber. And what's really nice about this is that we can export this to PDF, and it's all located in one file. I'm going to go back to SketchUp now, and I'm going to go back to the full model and just tell you about a few more things that you need to be aware of. Most of the joinery in your old models should still work correctly with the new version. But a few things might need to be tweaked a little. And the reason is that we now explode the joint components inside the timber so that we can clean up the stray edges. If you recall, when we were looking at the detail of that post just a few minutes ago, we saw that the full width housing now looks a lot cleaner than it used to before. In order to make that work, we have to follow a couple new rules. You can't have any holes in your joint components other than on the cutting face, and you should really avoid hidden geometry. Let me just give you a quick demonstration of what I mean by no holes. I'm just going to make a copy of this skirt, and I'm going to edit the tenon. And what I'm going to do is just delete this face here at the tip of the tenon. So now I've got a hole in it. And if I go to make shop drawings now on this post, it's going to warn me that one of my joints, the 8x8 tenon, is not solid, and that'll mess up my shop drawings. You can just say, okay, it's going to go ahead and try anyway. I'm just going to abort. But yeah, you can see that the things didn't work out quite right for that, making that mortise out of that tenon. So I'm just going to bail out of this, and we'll go back to the main model. Let me just fix that. And now when I make shop drawings, things work correctly. You can see that that mortise now looks right. One joint that I really had to spend a lot of time working on was my spline joint, and I made that available to you on my website, like I did with some of this other stuff. I also had the time to fix a few bugs that we had in the old version. If you were exporting a timber list to Excel, that would stop halfway through and make it difficult for you to save it. That's been fixed. Also, if you had section cuts and they were active on particular scene tabs, using the rubies would cause them to lose track of which was the active cut for each scene. That bug has been fixed. There's a few other new features I'm going to show you. The configuration window looks a lot nicer. And there's a lot more configuration options. A lot of these are familiar from the old version, but this new stuff down here is to control where these new items get placed onto each layout page. These control where those two viewports, the 3D view and the 2D view, appear on the shop drawing page. And these show where the quantity and size information will appear. And you can get, if you mess around with these values, you can get them to drop right into a nice little box on the edge of your drawing. Another new feature is that there's a new peg report, which breaks down not just how many pegs you have like we had in the old version, but now we can see how many you'll need of each length. Be aware that this assumes that all the pegs are cut flush. If you're leaving them proud, you're going to have to make some adjustments to that. A couple other things. The new extension will remember, like the last place that you save shop drawings, it'll remember that folder. It'll remember the folder that you got your layout template from, so that you don't have to keep wandering around with the Explorer to find things. That should make things a little quicker for you. And then there's two features to speed up your workflow. They are to create all the shop drawings in one go. So this is big, make shop drawings in batch mode. And then instead of sending the shops to layout one at a time, you can also do all of them at once using batch mode. It'll just find all of them in the current folder and send them all to layout all at once. That's particularly helpful because each time you make a shop drawing, it has to open the layout file and append it to the end. And as the layout file gets larger and larger, that can take quite a long time, like up to half a minute. But in batch mode, it only has to open it once and then continually tack on the new files to the end. So the whole process takes a minute or two, but it's a lot quicker than doing them one at a time. I really hope you find this new version useful and helpful for your workflow. I spent quite a few months working on it. I'm really excited about how much it makes my shop drawings look better and improves my whole process for designing timber frames. As always, if you've got any questions or comments, you can find me here. Just email me, Clark at tenon.technology. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Appreciate you taking the time to look at this, and do look for the new videos as they become available. Thanks.